Hello, everybody. It's Marcus from PageProof here, about to get underway with another PageProof Academy, this time on Monday.com. Today, we're going to deep dive into the latest release that we put out for Monday.com during the 12 days of Christmas, and some of the things that we have enabled in PageProof that are now over inside of Monday.com. Here we are inside of Monday.com. This board actually has PageProof already integrated into it. And for those that don't know how to do that, up in the top up here, you'll see there is a applications or apps icon. If you click onto the apps icon, the app marketplace, you can do a search for PageProof in there and then add PageProof to your Monday account. Then from there, if you want to try PageProof out, let's just say you're already using Monday.com and PageProof, or you'd like to just figure out, how is this going to benefit me? You can use one of our proofs templates, which is available over on the left-hand side. So you'll see there's a plus icon right over here, which is add item to workspace. If you click on that plus icon and you go choose from templates, and then you do a search up the top here for PageProof, then you'll be able to choose the PageProof proofs, and that will add a folder over on the left-hand side of your Monday.com account. So you'll see over here, there's a PageProof proofs folder. If you roll that down, there we have some already pre-configured boards and some guides on getting started. So this doesn't affect your already running Monday.com boards. This is just so you can try it out. So if you click into this board, you'll see it already has some items on it. So we're already pre-populated this for you, so you can try a few things out inside of here. There is a dashboard here, which shows you a whole bunch of things that you can do from a reporting perspective in terms of laying out deadlines and all those sorts of things. And there's not a lot showing up in here at the moment, but that would populate as we were going through our proofing. And then there's a getting started guide here. When you go through this, you'll be able to read through it and be able to set up your board inside of your account so you can try PageProof out. So let's go in and try out some of the features. Now, what you'll notice with this board, it's already pre-configured with a bunch of columns already. So you can see there's a whole lot of columns here related to PageProof. So those are already done. And I've already added an automation here, which is part of that guide that I showed you. You just add one automation there. There's a couple you could probably add, but we'll come back to that in a moment. And then what I'm going to do is actually show you the first feature that we'd like to show you as part of this update, which is the board item menu. So over on the very left-hand side of an item, you'll see there's 3 dots here. When you click onto these 3 dots, it reveals a menu. If you scroll down to apps, you'll see that create proof is right here. So you don't need to go into the Monday item. You can just click the menu right beside it, click on create proof. That reveals the proof setup right here. So there's no need for you to sort of deep dive anywhere. You can send a proof directly from here. So you can check a couple of things off in here, make sure it's mapping to all the right places. And you'll see in this case, it's going to use the file that I wanted to use for this. So I'm just going to click on create. That is going to take us over to the PageProof proof setup screen. And from here, I won't spend too much time inside of here, but you'll see it's linked back to that item inside of Monday.com. I'm just going to choose a workflow here and click on send proof, and that will upload the proof into PageProof, and then it's going to update all the information back inside of Monday.com. So that automation that I showed you at the very top is going to kick in and update all the information. So you can see at the very, very top, this is the item here, and you can see that it's in proofing. Here's a link to open the proof. This is the step of the workflow that it's up to, the version, and a bunch of other information inside of here as well. So all of that has been populated back inside of Monday.com. So this is showing you how quickly you can get up and running just by using the proofs template. Again, by using that plus, choosing PageProof from the apps, and then being able to add that to your board. Now, I wanted to dive in here while we're here and look at some of the interface updates that we've done. So if I click into this item, you'll notice if you've been using Monday.com and PageProof for some time, this is the new proofing card. So this card that you see over here on the right-hand side, this has been substantially updated in terms of its information that it shows you. So previously, this was a single line some very basic information. Now you can see it's got a lot of information here, and this is live updated as the proof goes through its life cycle. So it's a really, really great way of looking at the summaries of your proofing as it's going on inside of PageProof. So your project managers can spend more time inside of Monday and still know what's going on in PageProof. Now, up at the settings up here, if you click onto settings, you'll notice that there is a bunch of options here for switching on and switching off that information. So if you're not interested in showing the comment counts and maybe the approved date, you can just switch them off in this menu, and that card becomes has less information in it, possibly easier for you to read if you've got a whole lot of proofs sitting inside of here. So just be aware that you can set up and do the settings here to turn on and off the information that you want to show inside that card. Now, one more thing I wanted to show you while we're here. If you're creating proofs from inside of Monday, when you click on the Create Proof button, you'll notice that the look of this has changed, and there are there's some different looking fields in here, and down the bottom it's showing you the files from your files column. If you want to get access to sending out an email proof or sending out a website proof, the little 3 dots over here on the right-hand side, if you click here, then you'll see that you can source your files or create proofs from different locations here. So a little tip there, those are available up in the top of this menu. When you click on Create Proof, you see the 3 dots, then you can pull these out and create the proofs from those different areas that you're interested in. Okay, so let's go back now and take a look at some of the other new things that we've added. So this is a new recipe that I'm about to show you. This new recipe, in fact, I was on a call with a customer the other day and saw that they had used it to bulk send out a lot of proofs in one go just by changing the status. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So what I'm about to show you is how you can use a new recipe inside of Monday.com. And you can also use new features inside of PageProof to automatically send your proofs without having to go over to the PageProof interface. So first thing I'll just show you over inside of your automations. So if you go to your board automations inside of here, you'll see that there is a new automation, and we'll come back and we'll take a look at this in detail. So I will go through and spell this out for you in a moment, but let's try it. Let's send it out. So up the top here, you'll see this press ad. I have got an asset sitting in the assets column, and there's a whole bunch of columns in here. If I go to the proof status and change it to send first proof, then I'm going to put my hands in the air, and this is where the demo gods come in. We're going to hope that this all works the way it should. You've just noticed it's changed to new. If you look over at proof link, it's now put the link to the proof inside of there. It's showing us it's proof version 1. And if I scroll across a bit more, you'll see it's putting in the number of comments and the to-dos that it's finding inside the proof as well. This has created a brand new proof and sent it out for people to leave feedback. So that was done with one status change. So we can go in and take a look at how this is being done. There are 2 parts to this. Number 1 is the recipe that I just quickly showed you, and we'll actually come back to that in a moment, because the first thing that you need to do is over inside of PageProof, you need to set up what's called a proof template. So a proof template essentially encapsulates everything on the proof setup screen into a template. So you can have the workflow, the due date, you can have everything that you want on that proof setup screen captured into a template. So if we go over to PageProof now and take a look at that, let's go in to the team menu, and then we can see the team proof templates. Now inside of here, we've got 2 proof templates here. So these proof templates, we've got a brand identity one and a packaging one. If I click into that packaging projects one, you can see here are all the things that have been set up for that template. So you can see up the top, we've got, if we wanted to put it automatically into a collection, we could have done that. Here are 2 tags that we want automatically added to every proof. Make it in the download settings, the workflow we'd like to use, who are the owners that we want on here, what's the checklist. So you can set this up inside of PageProof, give it a name, and then when you're on the proof setup screen or you're over on Monday.com looking at that recipe, you can choose this template and it'll use that to send the proof out. So let's go and take a look at that recipe. So here we have the templates area. If we type PageProof at the top, you can see there is the PageProof recipes. If I click in, the one over at the very, very top here, and I will draw your attention to the rest of them, by the way. We've added a bunch of these now, so you've got a whole lot of different ones here that you can explore. But the one at the very top here, which is when a status changes to something, in my case, I set it to send for first proof, create a proof using proof template, in which I can choose one from PageProof for each file in, and you can specify which column you want to use to do that. So if we actually look at that template inside the automation section, here is the way it looks. When the proof status changes to send first proof, create a proof using packaging projects, which is the name of the workflow template over in PageProof for each file in the assets column. That's it. That's what you need. So you just need a proof template inside of PageProof, and then you just add this recipe to your board. You can add this recipe multiple times, by the way. So you can do things like, when proof status changes to send first proof, or when proof status changes to send packaging artwork, or whatever it is, you can have a different status there and it will trigger a different workflow template. So I'll leave that up to your imagination, because it's a pretty cool feature that we've added there, enabling you to automate the sending of your proofing from inside of Monday.com. Right, let's take a look at one more automation that I've added onto this, onto here. And that is, if I go over to the center of my columns here, you'll see that there is a final approved file showing up inside of here. So final approved file, this is a files column. And whenever a proof is approved, I would like the final approved file to be copied back into Monday.com. Why is that? Well, if you've set a goal to have Monday.com as your single source of the truth, this is the best way to make sure you've got all your proofing files coming back into your Monday boards. This means that when you look at this item in the future, there is the final approved file. How do you set that up? Well, let's take a look. We'll go over to PageProof, and we'll go up to the menu, come down to Team, go to Integrations. And inside Integrations, there's a little cog icon next to the Monday.com here. So if I click on that, this option allows sending files to Monday.com, switch it on. You need to have that turned on. And now PageProof will have the ability to send the files over to Monday. There is a caveat. Presently, the file limit size over on Monday.com is 512 megabytes. We're hoping that will get bigger. But that covers off the majority of your social posts and PDFs and those sorts of things as well. So it's a good file size that you can get started putting your files back. Okay, so back into Monday.com. Again, I'll go up to the Automate and I'll click on the board automations. I've already actually added this. So this will be chosen from the templates. And if you scroll down, you'll see, if I scroll down, you'll see this one here. This is the one that I have added. When a proof referencing an item on this board reaches approved, upload its file to final approved file, which is the column that we had inside of the Monday board. So this will trigger every time the status changes to approved. So let's, for that one at the very, very top, let's do it. So you can see final approved file here doesn't have a file in it, just making sure. I'm going to click on this link inside of Monday.com, takes us to the proof. I'm going to shortcut this, just ignore what I'm doing here, but I'm going to manually approve this proof. So I'm just going to manually approve the proof. So I'm just going to override this. I'm going to manually approve the proof. Yes, I'd like to manually approve it. If I go back over to Monday.com, let's keep an eye on that final approved file column. Boom, there's the file. So that is the file which we approved over in PageProof being copied back now into Monday.com, which is a really, really great feature for keeping everything into your single source of the truth. So definitely add that one if you want it to be there. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is an area which is actually, I'm going to say, almost endless in its possibilities. So again, it's to do with automations, and I'm going to go up to Automate, and into my board automations. Now, I want to show you something that PageProof has done, giving you as much power as you like to be able to automate things using triggers from inside of PageProof and Monday. So you'll see here, add new automation, and that takes you to the screen that says, when this happens, then do this. And in the when this happens, we have a bunch of triggers from PageProof as options that you can choose. So when a proof reaches a certain status, or when a proof reaches a workflow step of this name. So there are some ones there you can take a look at. And what it lets you do is build things like this one at the top here. So this is an automation. So this is not to be confused with a recipe card. It still is an automation, but this one's being made by hand as opposed to coming from the templates. The one at the top says, when a proof referencing an item on this board reaches approved, notify the item subscribers. What does that do? The great thing with this is it's going to send a notification to those that are subscribed to the item. And I'm just going to check over here. I didn't get one showing for me, unfortunately, but it would show a automation would trigger, and it would put a notification into my Monday notifications. Now, the great thing about that is that if you've got the Monday.com app on your phone, you're going to receive a notification through the Monday app that your proof has been approved. And also inside of Monday.com as well, you'll get the trigger for a notification there. So that one's a really great one. I'll just bring that up so you can see what that looks like. So when a proof referencing an item on this board reaches approved, then notify the item subscribers. And the really cool thing with this is that when you click on the notify, you can actually write out whatever the message you like to go into that notification. So play around with this one. It's got some really, really great items, great possibilities actually, that you'll be able to use to do some automations inside of Monday.com, triggered by PageProof. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you was we have updated the user interface of all of the PageProof elements inside of Monday.com. We are now matching, if you run your board in dark mode, or you run your board in night mode, or back to light mode, all of the PageProof UI that we have embedded inside of Monday.com will also switch to those as well. And we've made sure we're using the latest Monday.com design language. So that's a really, really big thing that we think is quite an important one as well. Okay, last thing I want to cover off, and that is the ability to add automations to sub-items. And then what you can do with that when it comes to looking at the roll-ups of the summary statuses. So you'll see here my social campaign. Inside my social campaign, I've got a bunch of sub-items. Now, the cool thing with what we did with the integration is we added not only the ability to update information at item level using a recipe, we did it for sub-items as well. So if you go over to your automation area, you'll notice that we have done that for sub-items. So you'll see this one, for example, when a proof references a sub-item on this board, keep the sub-item in sync. So exactly what you do for the item, you can also do for the sub-item. And the good thing with this is if you're running things like campaigns, you'll notice here that if I roll this one down, these are all proofs that I have sent out. So these proofs have all gone and they're at certain stages of work inside of PageProof, but they're connected back to Monday.com. And you'll notice at the top of this, I've added a summary proof status column. So you can see it's giving me essentially the little breakdown of all of the sub-item statuses. And this is a really great thing that you can use, particularly if you're using for social media. You've got a whole lot of different campaigns going on, and you just at a glance want to see, hey, where is this campaign up to? And if I roll up that social campaign, you can see if you hover over it, great, we've approved one. We've got another one with some to-dos, and we've got two that are out in proofing. So just without rolling it open, you can just hover over here and get a sense of where things are up to inside of your Monday board and to do with your sub-items. So do add those sub-items in if that's something that you really love to use. And you didn't know that we have recipe cards that trigger on sub-items as well. Of course, if you want to see, we do a weekly demo of PageProof every week. So that is every Wednesday PSD. So you can go to pageproof.com and you can join the PageProof demo so you can see exactly how the rest of PageProof works. And if you want to start a trial, if you're not using PageProof at all at this stage, you can start a trial or book a demo, personal demo with our team by using the buttons at the top of our homepage. All right, thank you very much. And we look forward to bringing you another PageProof Academy very, very soon. Have a good day, everybody.